woke up and there had been a lot of rain overnight. And so we have their 3 a.m. alarm. I had my coffee ready to go. And I looked at my Instagram and was like, oh, they've delayed the start by an hour. And so thankfully I'd looked, because some people had just like gone to the race start already. And so I kind of went back to bed, just sort of trying to rest another hour, and then get out to the start line. It's still raining. It's really muddy. And go use the porta potty, come out, and whoever was directing out there goes, oh, we're canceling the race.
Whoa. Hey there.
Hey, we are back with another Gutter Run Racing episode.
Sure are. What's happening in the world of Norman, the ultra norm?
My training?
Yeah, what's happening with your training for UTMB? Tell the listeners.
It's coming along. I just finished my last PRP shots.
Platelet-rich plasma.
Oh, is that what it stands for?
It does.
I just know I go in there and get my injections in my hips because they're not what they used to be. But for those who don't know what PRP is, it's basically they draw your blood, they spin it, they take the plasma out, and they re-inject the plasma directly where you need it, into the joint. It could be your hips, your knees, your elbow, whatever.
That helps with healing.
Yes, it calms things down if you have arthritis or if you have bone spurs, basically they say, or tears in the hips, things like that. It's a healing, your own body healing itself directly there.
Well, it definitely got you through Western.
Yes, I needed it through the training and got me to the finish line Westerns, and hopefully, well, it will. I'm going to start ramping up now, and I feel good, and it's going to get me to the finish line at UTMB.
Which will be...
What are you saying? Probably my last 100 miler. Probably because my hips are not where they were, and I'm kind of tired of running through the night.
That's all right. You're going to be a 50K specialist.
Well, no. Since our last podcast, maybe a sky runner.
There we go. More mountains.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And who's on the podcast today?
Today we have Arden Young, 37-year-old living in Calgary. She's a dentist, and she has a long list of ultra finishes from 50K to 100 milers and everything in between. She's won some of our top Canadian races like Sinister 7 and La Soul Ultra in 2018. And she's had some impressive international performances at Bandera 100K, Run Rabbit 100 Mile, CCC in 2022, which we're definitely going to ask her about. Javelina 100 miler, and she's fresh off a win at Desert Rats Trail Run in Colorado, 100K alternative, which we're not exactly sure what that meant. I kind of think she ran 50K, but we're not sure what that means.
Yeah, the results are kind of... Well, we're going to ask her about that. What exactly does that mean?
We'll find out.
Anyway, she won it.
And she'll be representing Canada in the long course of the 2023 World Mountain and Trail Running Championships in Austria this June.
Yes.
1,400 athletes from over 60 nations. We recently chatted with another member of the Team Canada. Who was that?
Brandon Miller.
That's right. Episode 76. And we're hoping to get a few more on before and after the event just to see how it went and
promote Team Canada.
You got it.
So the rest of the world will have the fear in their eyes.
Uh-oh, the Canadians are coming.
Yeah, the Canadians are coming. Here they are at the start line. So that's a good way to get to know Team Canada.
Absolutely.
And without further ado, here is Arden Young.
So big congrats on winning the Desert Rats Trail Run recently. But the real reason we wanted to chat with you is because you were named to the World Trail Mountain Championships coming up for Team Canada, coming up in Austria this June. And we wanted to speak to as many members as possible beforehand. So
that's awesome.
One of the main reasons that we wanted to chat with you today. But we do know that you're a dentist. So we wondered, how the heck do you find the time to train and put in these 100K weeks?
Oh, yeah, that's been an interesting balance. I mean, I got into trail running well into my dental career. So the dentistry thing definitely came first. I've been practicing for 13 years now, which is like hard for me to believe.
Wow.
And I only got into trail running probably around like 2016.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 6 years after I graduated. And I've always been a runner. My whole family is like outdoorsy, and my parents ran for fun and fitness. And so I ran through, like, never competitively, but through dental school as my stress relief and just sort of to, shake off the day. And then I moved out to Vancouver after, and that's where I was introduced to the trail scene. So, I was full force dentistry until, like 6 or 7 years into my career. And more recently, the scales have tipped more to be like, oh, I think running is almost equally important to me now as dentistry. And so there's kind of trying to make time for those dreams and realizing there's more to life, and I've accomplished a lot. And now there's still so much more I want to do, and trying to make the most of that time. But the balance is hard. It's like a stressful job, and then I go and put my body through all this stress. So it's like, I don't have a lot of time for a social life or a lot of other things. It's, my balance is inherently unbalanced for most people. It's like you're working and you're running, but running's also what I love. So it's like where I shake off the day and where I just like have my me time and process things. And so to me, it works for now. Honestly, I don't know how people do this with kids. That would be a whole different ball game. I do not have children. I have a dog who doesn't really like to run. She's pretty lazy. But yeah, as we all have such busy lives, you prioritize what brings you the most joy and value. And that's what I've been trying to do these past couple of years.
Well, before we talk about Worlds, let's talk about some other international races that you've done. One being Bandera, where you came third in 2020 and seventh last year. What was the difference between those two Banderas?
Yeah, 2020, I don't know if there was less competition, because my time when I was seventh was actually faster than when I was third. And I think, honestly, that just speaks to the trail scene. Like, it's getting faster and more competitive and really exciting. It's becoming kind of it used to be such a niche sport, and now it's becoming its own entity in the international sports scene. So Bandera in 2020 is maybe it was my first 100K or one of my first 100Ks. So that was one of my first times racing in the States. Maybe I'd done like a 50 mile or something before, but that was me putting myself out there, being like, okay, how am I going to pan out? And yeah, that was an okay race. But then last year I was really fit for it when I was going to run Bandera, and ended up having some health problems during the race that took a while to sort out. And I was basically stopping to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes. So that race did not pan out into what I had hoped. And the goal is still to make it to Western States someday. So I'm still going to keep giving the effort there and signing up for those big races. But yeah, I think the biggest thing between them is just like the competition.
Nice.
If you don't show up healthy and ready to go and ready to race, and that you have to have your A game at these races now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Canyons is this weekend, and can't wait to see how that shakes out, because it's shaping up to be another really competitive field. Absolutely. And we're just seeing that's one of the reasons. Canada, we're building that scene and we have so much talent here, but to go race those fields where, if you do well in a competitive race down the States, you can do well internationally. And that's where we're finding, you go down there to race some of the best people in the world. And that's why I keep going into the States, just to test myself against that. Yeah, for sure.
And you did touch on a little bit of Javelina, but you went from the mountains of CCC to the desert of Javelina. So how did that go at Javelina last year? Which 10th place is still pretty good.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, that may have been why I ended up injured, because I went from training so much vert to going and doing a flat, fast desert 100 miler. So it was very contradictory to all the training I'd put in the summer to prepare for the mountains of Chamonix. But yeah, Javelina was wild. Like I don't know if I'd really prepared myself for what I was getting into. And the heat hit me really quickly. Definitely felt that. And just like, you're literally running 100 miles. It's not like a lot of these races where you can hike. You are running. And so I still had a great race. I mean, my time any other year would have been near the podium. And it's just, again, those races are so fast now. The women are crushing, and it's so great to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I still had a really fun day. Again, Ailsa McDonald was there to pace me, and she's someone who I look up to, and I don't think I could have finished without her. So it was fun to have friends there. And Javelina, Aravaipa puts on amazing races, and like the vibe's so good, and you get to just go through your crew station every lap for 5 laps. And at the end, I was like, why would I ever do that again? But already I'm like, oh, I'll probably go back this year.
I remember the difference because I did Javelina back in 2016, and the finish line was just a stick that you crossed over.
Yeah, it was pretty basic.
It was the basic thing, and now it's a
a party.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
it's a party. It's pretty great. You can hear the music like bumping from a couple miles out.
Oh yeah.
And Jody did it in 2019.
Right, the 100K.
And I was looking to go, you just got the party. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Now, speaking of a party in the desert, we were at Moab Run The Rocks.
Oh, yeah.
As were you.
So fun, right?
How much fun was that?
Trans Rockies races. So Kevin Huda McDonald lives in Canmore.
Yep.
So that's sort of how I got connected to the whole Trans Rockies thing.
Right.
And one of my best friends, Emily Mann, who was also at Moab.
Yes.
Her and I have now done the Trans Rockies Colorado 2 years in a row. We're the defending women's team champs 2 years in a row. And it's just like, you know, if we're talking about the community, and those races bring the community, and it's where, because you're racing day after day, you get to know people, and every time you get back together, it's like this big reunion, and you're just like all there to have fun, do what you love. It's so supportive, and yeah, they do such a good job.
They really do.
Well, the fact that it was sold out in 10 days,
Yeah.
what does that say?
Yeah.
A brand new year. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's funny. I say like, when Huda calls, people answer. So he's throwing out this like, yeah, guys, we're going to do this race in Moab. It'll be great. And no one knows the details. No one knows how it's going to work. No. And everyone's like, yeah, I'll go. And it's just, you know, he's created this scene in this community, and it's so awesome.
It is, for sure.
Would you prefer better, running in the mountains or the desert?
Oh, they're both beautiful in their own ways. That's funny. I was actually thinking about that on my run this morning, after having just run in Fruta. And so you get that slick rock, and it's technical in its own way, you know, like after, you guys know, after running in Moab, running on all that rock, it like takes its toll, and the sand. I'd probably say I'm more of a mountain person. I love the views, and there's something magical. But the desert, like Javelina last year, when the sun is setting and you're out running with the cactuses, and it's beautiful too. I can't choose. I'm not really a beach person, but I'll take trails anywhere.
Very good. And of course, we just recently won the Desert Rats Trail Run, but I'm not too sure how it worked. It says 100K alternative 50K. What exactly happened
what
there?
happened?
Oh my gosh, it was a bit nutty. Yeah. So I was headed to Desert Rats wanting my CCC qualifier for this year, because the top 3 get their spot in CCC doing the 100K. And so the morning of the race, and there had been like, the weather had looked good. It looked like maybe a drizzle, but the morning of the race, we woke up and there had been a lot of rain overnight. And so we have a 3 a.m. alarm. I had my coffee ready to go. And I looked at my Instagram and was like, oh, they've delayed the start by an hour. And so thankfully I'd looked, because some people had just like gone to the race start already. And so I kind of went back to bed, just sort of trying to rest another hour, and then get out to the start line. It's still raining. It's really muddy. And go use the porta potty, come out, and whoever was directing out there goes, oh, we're canceling the race.
Whoa.
And so everyone's standing at the start 10 minutes before the gun goes off, and they cancel the race. And there was just like a lot of confusion, and it was pretty wild. And they didn't know what they were going to do instead. They said that this race is canceled. We'll see what we do about you guys running tomorrow. And we'll let you know by 3 p.m. that afternoon. So everyone kind of goes back, try to go back to sleep with that adrenaline rush of the morning and everything. And at 3 p.m. they announced that we were allowed to run the 50K the next day, but we had to start half an hour behind the actual 50K. Starting half an hour behind the 50K, the front pack of our race
of course
quickly caught the back pack of the 50K. And it was basically 4.5 hours of just like on your left, passing people. And so I lost the hype. Like, and a lot of the women that I was supposed to race against, they're local Colorado runners. And so a lot of them went home, and didn't race. And so it was a very different vibe. And it was a beautiful course. It was such a beautiful area, and still had a good training day, but it definitely didn't feel like the race I went out for. So it's all worked out and all good. And bonus is I've recovered better after 50K versus 100. So I'm back training strong and getting my vert in. I'm going to race Dirty Feet 50K out in Vernon next weekend as another training effort. And you know how spring is in Canada. Like it's hard to train, and especially for a big vert race in the mountains. And so I'm just kind of doing the best I can, getting my feet under me, and hoping that I'm ready for Innsbruck in a month.
Wow. So Innsbruck Worlds is coming up. Is this your first time representing Team Canada?
It is. Yeah, I'm so excited. I qualified a few years back, and I ended up turning it down to go to a friend's wedding. And you know what? At that time, Worlds it didn't have the hype, I think, and the prestige that it does now. Thailand changed things last year. And I think just the sport in general too, being like, oh, this is actually like a legit sport. And there's some of the best in the world going. And so this year I applied for the team, and I'm really excited because it's such a strong team going for Canada, and a big team going. And I know a lot of the runners. There's a few local friends that I have going, and the women's long course, especially, like, we got some great athletes, and if everyone runs to the potential, I don't know. I think we have a shot at podium. So I'm really excited.
So what other big races are on your to-do list, other than Western, of course, which you mentioned?
Yeah, I'd love to do Western. I did apply for Hard Rock for this year for the lottery. Didn't get chosen. So that's one that was never on my radar. I was like, oh man, Hard Rock, you got to be crazy to do Hard Rock. And now that I enjoyed CCC so much last year, and those big mountain races are becoming more appealing to me. It's funny how, starting this running journey, initially starting with 50Ks and being like, oh, I'm never going to do 100 miles. And then you do 100 miles, and then you're like, oh, I'm never going to do this. And then you're like, oh, maybe I will. So that's the fun thing about this sport, is you can keep kind of choosing your goals and pushing your body and seeing what happens. And there's so much variation in both terrain and distance. So Hard Rock's become definitely one that I'd be curious about. Western States, I'm actually hoping to go to Tarawera next February. I've never been to New Zealand, and just to go experience the culture as well as the race is very appealing for me, as well, of course, another golden ticket shot. Yeah. I'm still there too. And so hoping to go back to CCC this year. That one, I thought I was done with it. It just keeps pulling me back for the quality of the race and the mountains, the trails, the competition. So I don't know. I think at some point I'll end up doing more local races again. But the competition and travel has definitely been pulling me overseas.
Well, destination races. We always figure that's the best way to see a country. Yeah, is run 100 miles.
Yep. Right. Well, and then you're there for a purpose too, which I always really enjoy. It gives you, when you travel around, you have something to talk about with the local people there. And it's, you know, you're there with a purpose, and you're there with a different way to connect to the people in the community.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thanks so much
Arden.
for your time.
We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys. I mean, I love the aspect of just building the running scene in Canada and spreading the joy that running brings everyone, and increasing our fan base, and just getting more people out there. It's great. So thank you for everything you do with the sport.
Oh, thank you so much. But we'll be watching you in June.
The world's going to be
awesome.
watching.
See you in Chamonix.
Yes.
We'll go for a glass of wine.
Love it. Love it.
After.
After. Maybe a croissant before.
Yeah.
That's better.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
There you have it, Arden Young.
Yeah, I'm so envious. We've talked to a lot of people that are relocating to be closer to the mountains to be able to train, and I give them so much props, because you got to do it when you're young and before you've really set down roots. So if you're thinking about it, don't think too long. Just do it.
Just do it.
We would have done it.
Oh, God.
If we could go back and do it over again.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, but our career's over.
Well, we're not going to be competitive in running anymore, but
We'll be hikers.
there we go.
Yeah. All the best to her at the Worlds, and all the best to her again at Chamonix, taking on CCC again.
Yes.
And we're going to be hopefully sharing a glass of wine at the end.
That'd be nice. And wishing all of our Canadians success at Worlds in June.
Yeah. Until next time.
Bye.